Monster of the Month Club. It's your friendly neighborhood mad scientist, me, Laura E. And it's the final week in February, so it is time for our last witch. In today's video, you'll see me drawing Tomasin Phillip, which is my melding of Tomasin and Black Phillip into one character. You'll see my process of drawing that sped up, and I will be offering commentary about the film and about my drawing process. So if you'd like to follow along and draw at home, be sure to hashtag Monster of the Month Club and tag Egan Street Design on social media so I can see it and share it. And that's enough of me blabbing at you. Let's get started.
The Witch is a 2015 film written and directed by Robert Eggers. Set in the 1690s, it follows a family of English settlers who have been shunned from their Puritan community over a religious dispute. They live in relative isolation near a large forest, but when unbaptized baby Samuel is abducted, their world starts to unravel. Eggers, a New Hampshire native, was inspired to create the film from his childhood fascination with witches and frequent visits to Plymouth Plantation as a schoolboy. Lots of research was done in pre-production to give the film as authentic a look as possible. Casting took place in England, so the newly relocated family would have authentic accents. Shots were only lit with natural light and candles, as that would have been the only light sources available at the time. The stylized title came from a Jacobean pamphlet title. The costume designer consulted 35 books in The Clothes of the Common People in Elizabethan and early Stuart England to plan the costumes. She used materials that would have been available to the time, like wool, linen, or hemp, to create costumes for the film. The film received a mostly positive critical response. I believe it has a 91% score on Rotten Tomatoes, but a lot of horror fans complained that it was boring and slow-paced. I'm not a big horror person, but I definitely enjoyed this film. You can see the two reference images I used for my Tomasin Phillip creation. I utilized a slightly different body shape than normal because you can see that Black Phillip has, and most long-haired goats I guess, have sort of the big hairy body, but then their legs where the hair gets shorter are really slender. So I tried to incorporate that in my design choices for the body. And for the doll this time, I am going to not use a base doll. I'm going to try and create a more like traditional articulated teddy bear style doll. So I wanted to keep that in mind with my creation. I spent a lot of time working on the goat eyes because I wanted them to be fairly accurate to what a goat's eyes look like because they have that thin pupil, but I still wanted the little bit of eye shine to give it a little bit of a cuter look. I used the Tomasin photo mainly for her costume because that photo in particular shows a lot of the detail. Then I added the texture, some hooves. The horns were a fun challenge. I don't often get to do that. And then once I got the body done, I got started on the costume. So I started with the shirt. I did it in layers. Started with the undershirt. So much like, I guess, if she was actually getting dressed in her costume. Started with the undershirt. Then I added the bonnet because I know head covering was super important in Puritan America. Then I added the sort of over long skirt, dress, jumper thing, and then the apron. Give her an apron, of course, because if you're working on a farm, that was what you would utilize. And then I added some little details in there to sort of give a little contrast. I changed my mind on some of it, but I did like the little detail around the sleeves of her undershirt. And then I finished her up.
Thanks so much for watching. If you liked today's video and our Monsters and Fun Crafts, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along on social media for all the creepy crawly fun. And until next time, stay spooky, friends!